All right, Dan, I appreciate you sitting down with me, man. It's been a little while since we met in person. You came out to the first Fabricator Olympics. That's where we officially met.
Yep.
You came out the second year, and it was funny because you're the first. Well, you're not the first person, but you were when you were at the Fabricator Olympics. You made the proposal if I was interested in selling my company, and I wasn't expecting that. So, it was a unique proposition, and that's kind of why I have you on today because you went from working at a job where you were involved with welding and instead of starting a business from the ground up, like just about everybody else I've had on here, you went out and bought an established company. And I really want to dive into that. I've talked with Josh and Nate from Battleborn Welding, and about the acquisition of that's kind of the way of the future because older guys are kind of phasing out of this and they're leaving behind um, you know instead of just being able to have a business to sell, they're just closing up shop because people aren't, they don't have anybody to give it to.
Yeah,
So,
dude, there's a ton of liquidations out there. I get advertised all
yeah,
the time. Mill shop, weld
absolutely.
shop, fab shop, liquidating.
Yeah. And it's good because that's where we get to buy cheap equipment. But, it's kind of sad that you've worked for 30, 40 years of your life and then the only thing you have to show for it is selling your stuff off. So,
Yeah, whatever the highest bidder has to offer.
yeah, yeah. So Dan, go ahead and introduce yourself. Tell me, let us know about your company, and then kind of start off with like how you got into the welding field and your journey from like wherever it started up into your business acquisition.
Oh man, it was a long weird road. Way back when I was 18, I was actually a computer science major. And I just absolutely loathed the academia experience. So I punched
Mm,
out of that and I went to welding school instead. Shout out to WTTI in Allentown. Those guys rule. They put me through a 9 month crash course that got me my first structural steel welding job for $13 an hour with a 1 hour commute. Um,
oof.
and kind of worked my way up from there. I landed in air products for a while. I spent a decade working for Gardner Cryogenics. I was making liquid helium vessels for them, 11,000 gallon liquid helium vessels.
Mm,
So like sea box container shaped liquid helium vessels.
yep.
Uh, I kind of felt like I maxed out. I mean, while I was there, I was moonlighting all over the place, doing anything and everything I could. And I kind of felt like I got the full experience of like what's out there to be a welder. I got a little bit of everything. So I decided to go back to school for engineering. And when I did that, I stepped off the shop floor too, and I took my first manufacturing management gig. Um, and I did that for a while, and I jumped around between companies, always chasing more money, more flexibility, so I could achieve the schooling at the same time. Um, and I eventually finished the degree. Was working my first official engineering job. I was doing the exact same things I had always been doing, and I was just kind of burnt out, making other people rich, really. Beat myself up day in, day out to just
Yeah.
do it for somebody else. So instead of buying a house, I started Googling fabrication shop for sale near me. That's literally how all of this started. Just a Google search, fabrication shop for sale near me.
How long ago was this?
This would be, man, the first time this thought really crossed my mind was probably July 22.
Okay.
Um, I had been thinking about it for a while, and then in October 2023, I got serious about it, and I actually found something that I was interested in. I saw a post online, and it was an anonymous listing, so it had very few details about the business, just what it was, where it was. And I kind of sussed out what it was just from the details. And I reached out to the owner, and he was like, I didn't expect anyone to call me directly, talk to my broker. And I was like, okay, all right, I get it. That's fair. Um, so I called up his broker, and I had no idea what the heck I was doing. I've never bought a business. I've never taken on any kind of tremendous debt like that before. It was all real scary.
Hmm.
But he was great to work with. And he connected me and the business owner. And a lawyer and an accountant and the small business development center and a whole team came together around this. And over the course of 3.5 months, we ironed out a deal, and I ended up buying Facchiano Ironworks.
Wow. Okay. So, what did that look like? So, how much involvement did you have directly with the owner once you kind of went through the appropriate channels?
So once we went through the appropriate channels, he was happy to talk to me because at that point he knew I
Okay.
was serious. Um, and he had a chance to pick my brain a little bit. I had a chance to pick his brain a little bit, and we really hit it off. Um, he was skeptical that some engineer wanted to buy his shop, and I was like, no, I'm actually a welder, I swear. And he was like, well, I do a lot of railing repair for one of the local universities. And, the legs on these rails, they rust out. They call me up. I cut them off, replace the legs with stainless, and I stuff them back in the ground. I was like, oh, are you
Hmm.
taking them back together with 309 wire? And as soon as like that little bit of jargon came out, he was like, oh, he's actually a fabricator. He knows what he's talking about. And
Yeah.
everything seemed to be smooth sailing from there.
Okay. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Now, why was he getting out of the business?
He was retiring out. He didn't have any. He has a couple of kids, and neither of them wanted anything to do with it. They both have their own very successful careers. Um, so he was just looking to sell and retire. He spends most of his time in the Poconos these days, hanging out in the mountains, fishing and hunting. So
Okay. Did he
he,
stay on with the business at all to kind of like help you integrate into it, or was it
that
like,
that was actually part of what we negotiated.
mm,
I wanted him to hang out for 3 months, and not in a welding and fabricating capacity, but in a liaison capacity. Introduce me to your regulars. Show them that they can trust me like you've trusted me. Um, and he was like, I'm not doing 3 months. I'm tired. I want to get out of this. So he said 30 days. I said, I'll take what you give me. Sounds good. So he stuck around for the first 30 days and ended up working side by side with me. We did a couple projects together. He's a phenomenal fabricator. He's great to work next to. The
hmm
guy is up there in age, but he hops into the back of a pickup truck like he's 16, and he swings hammer as hard as anybody. So,
nice.
yeah.
Now, what do you look for in a business? Like where do you even start to like how do you evaluate that? Um, tell me about like what you ended up with like when you bought the place.
So the process is intricate and not.
Okay.
It is a lot of paperwork and a lot of details and a lot of examination, but it's all pretty plain and on its face. So the way this all really started was, hey, we're serious about, or I'm serious about wanting to buy your business. Let me look at the last 5 years of your business history. Let me see all the books, all the clients, all your records, everything. So he had a mountain of paperwork about this big for each year. And you start sifting through it, and you look at your previous year's taxes, and you do a thorough examination of the books, and you say, hey, yeah, this guy is making money. There is money to be made here. And then you have to evaluate if I'm taking on debt that is going to eat up a significant amount of profit or what would have otherwise been profit for a guy who's owned this building for, I don't know, since the 1950s. It's been in his family's. Um, so you have to sit down and crunch numbers and do math and like, uh, am I going to survive if I'm not quite as successful as this guy was in my very first year? And you probably shouldn't expect to be as successful as the guy who's been doing it for an entire lifetime.
Yeah.
Uh, so you weigh the risk and you do the assessment, and I highly recommend you lean on some experts while you're doing that assessment.
Okay.
Talk to an accountant. They're brilliant. Everybody always complains about taxes and having to deal with paperwork, but a good accountant is worth their weight in gold, man. They have a way with numbers that just makes it all make sense for anyone.
Mm.
Um, Another group that I consulted with was the Small Business Development Center out of Lehigh University. It's a totally free service. They will help you with business planning, connecting you to business lawyers, business accountants. If you need resources for um, starting a business or thinking about how to start a business, they've got them for you. And it's all entirely taxpayer funded, so it doesn't cost a thing to reach out to them. The gentleman from there walked me through um, a lot of this that I'm now explaining to you. He was telling me, like, you're going to need to go and ask for X, Y, and Z, and you're going to need to get your accountant to help you look at X, Y, and Z. Okay, I'm going to go
Mm.
do all those things. um, and ultimately, once we knew it was all for real, then I had to go and find myself a lawyer because you need somebody to draft up a legal document. I don't know. I think ours ended up being like 230 pages long. Um,
Wow.
so
Jeez.
yeah, I was buying out the business, the name of the business, the rights to use the name and logo, all of the equipment and assets of the business, and I was also buying the building. And we kind of split those up into two separate transactions. We kept the real estate on one side, and we kept everything else on the other side. Um,
Mm.
so yeah, it was a long 3 months with a lot of staring at the computer and spreadsheets and receipts and paperwork and invoices. Yeah.
All right. So after this, you draft up this huge 200 and something page legal, and you separated out the business from the real estate. Like, what did that look like? Did he owner finance part of this? Is he taking from, the profits? Like, how successful has the business been since you took it over compared to other years? And like, I want to pull that thread a little bit more.
All right. So um, we ended up going with owner financing because he was comfortable doing that with me, which is awesome. Um, I could have gone to a bank for financing. We had all the necessary documentation. We would have gotten ourselves a loan, but uh, it just made more sense to go with seller financing. That way, the previous owners make an interest instead of a bank. All
Sure.
for it. Um, I ended up buying the business side of everything outright and putting a down payment against the property. So
Hmm.
the only thing that seller financed is basically a mortgage. Um,
Okay.
so it worked out to what we thought was a reasonable monthly payment. Um, and as far as how successful have we been versus previous years, um, I can't correlate directly because I didn't quite have a full year of really running it. I closed on January 30th. And by the time I got insurance and everything in place and could actually start doing business, it was the tail end of March.
Okay.
So I have 9 months of data really to look at, but 12
Hmm.
months worth of expenses. Yeah.
Now,
But
did you take on any employees, or did he have any employees working for him when he closed
he,
shop, or was it just him, or what did that look like?
so in his heyday, he had 6 guys working for him. He had scaled down to just himself uh, in the last couple of years. So really ramped down the business a lot and kind of scaled everything back so that just he could support production. Um, so when I took it over, there was no employees inherited, no nothing. It was a clean slate.
Mm,
Just Fasciano Ironworks in existence with a new person at the helm, basically.
gotcha.
Yeah,
Do you have any guys working for you now?
I do have one guy working for me. Shout out to
Okay.
Ricky. Ricky's the man. Ricky is a wonderful dude, a phenomenal welder, and he's built like a human forklift. Like I look at things and I'm like, all right, let me go grab the jib crane. We'll pick this up. He's like, dude, I got it.
That's awesome. How old's
Yeah.
Ricky?
Ricky is in his early 30s.
Okay, good.
Yep.
Nice.
Yeah. I'm hoping after a couple more big projects in the bag, we can scale a little bit and I can bring on another employee, maybe two, if the money's right.
Hmm.
And then I want to get Ricky to start teaching and training because he's great, and I think he's very capable of teaching and training on top of everything that he does in the shop. It's, I think it'd be a good experience for him, and it'll be a good experience for a younger guy to learn from him.
Nice. What kind of work do you guys like? Are you geared more towards?
We do a ton of railing, but I try and do anything and everything. Whatever I can get my hands on, whatever's interesting. I get bored doing the same thing too many times in a row. So like I'm in the
Yeah.
middle of making 14 basically identical railings right now. I'm like losing my mind. But it is what it is. So in last year, the two unique projects that we did, I did like a 1.5 ton pipe manifold at a 12-inch sked 40 for Saucon Valley Country Club. That was pretty
Hmm.
cool. We were tying three standpipes together and feeding them into one inlet on a new pump system to irrigate all three of their golf courses and run a new pond that they have. The thing's like 60,000 gallons a minute. It's insane.
Wow, that's a huge
Uh,
pump.
yeah, huge. Another fun one from last year was the high dive at Lehigh University. Um, their gymnasium right there in the middle of campus. We had to wrestle like the better part of 3 tons of steel, about 3,500 pounds of steel, so just shy of 2 tons, through a building and down 2 stories of bleachers, and then erect it next to a pool.
Nice. Bet your back appreciated
Yeah,
that.
good time. Yeah, it was interesting. We made it happen though.
Nice, man. What kind of work do you anticipate on chasing in the future?
Uh, I like the structural work. I need to scale back up into getting some bigger equipment. I had to sell a pretty big crane truck because I didn't have the time to get the license to operate the crane, and I couldn't just have it sit there collecting dust. So I sold the
Yeah.
thing, but I really regret that, and I wish I could have held on to it, and I wish I had it because being able to reach 120 feet in the air and pick a couple tons like that would be insanely useful right now.
I always look at those boom trucks too, and like we have a service truck with the crane on it, and we have our spider crane, and the spider crane's good, but like you there's no replacement for reach. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So I think about I'm like I could sell this spider crane for what I could buy an at like a 120-foot boom truck for. So like maybe I should go do that. But then there's the whole you have a whole nother big old truck that you have to insure and keep
Yep.
on the road and
Yep.
DOT and another engine, and I'm like, nah, maybe I'll just pay somebody $1,500 to come out and put it up for me. That's all.
Yep.
That's
Yep.
way cheaper
Yeah.
for the amount of time that I need it. It's just I have a crane guy, and he's very good, and he's very reasonable on price.
Nice.
So,
I'm gonna have to share some contact details with you then.
oh yeah, he's down in Lansdale.
Nice.
Yeah, he said some of our bigger stuff. So,
Perfect.
so with coming into buying a business, what do you think has been the hardest thing for you to learn so far?
So when we swapped the business, we did a lot of introductions. I was glad handing for a couple weeks, like shaking hands, kissing babies. Hey, I'm Dan. I'm the new owner. Um, After doing all of that, one, you're not going to win over all those guys. You're not going to retain 100% of the customers. They were loyal to the previous owner because he was the previous owner.
Hmm.
They don't owe you anything. You haven't done anything for them yet. You haven't proven yourself. And number two, you don't want to maintain all those relationships. Not all of those are fruitful. Some of those, the previous owner might have been doing some favors. Like, and you can't afford to do that as the new guy.
Yeah.
So, sifting through a long list of previous connections and figuring out who you want to stay in touch with, who's going to be cool to work with, who's doing cool shit that you can be involved in. That was a long learning process. I think
Hmm.
I mostly have it figured out now. There's a lot of good guys out there.
How many guys did you have to cut out, or how many previous customers did you have to cut out?
There's like three bigger firms that the previous owner had done a lot of work with that they asked me to do some things that weren't the print and like kind of sketched me out a little bit. I'm like, this is the kind of shit that you want me to do. Like, I don't know if I want to be involved.
Mm.
Um, like when it comes to engineered drawings for like a burning that has fire damage, if you're going to shore up that basement, like nobody wants to like nobody ever wants to admit that the engineer is right sometimes, but like sometimes you got to cut into stone. It's a pain in the dick, and you don't want to do it. But like, shut up, man! You need to cut into the stone. It is what it is.
Yeah,
uh,
yeah.
yeah,
Sometimes they know what they're doing.
yeah,
There's a
yeah.
reason why they're putting their stamp on it and you're not.
Amen. They're taking the liability for good
That's
reason.
that stamp means it goes on their insurance.
Yep, exactly, exactly.
So, with buying an established business, how much advertising have you had to do versus
uh,
how much do you just kind of rely on existing clients coming to you?
Man, like near zero on advertising. Uh,
Really?
there's a couple of institutions that like I want to support, so I advertise through them just to get some money. And they're like, "Hey, you're bringing business to me. I want to support you too. Your school's athletic program is doing a flyer, and they need business cards around the perimeter. Yeah, I'll give you $20. Put my name on there. Sounds great." Um,
Okay.
but for the most part, I think the biggest one I did. The previous owner was a big supporter of some of the fundraising campaigns that like WZZO did back in the day, like to support the troops and
Mm.
all sorts of stuff. So I still donate to some of those, just kind of like on his behalf. He doesn't run the business anymore, so he doesn't really donate yet, but it still bears his name. I'm going to honor that. So I send a couple $100 to the radio station every like 6 months.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah. But for the most part, the phone just rings nonstop. I mean, if you live in the greater Lehigh Valley region, just because the business is so damn old, everybody knows somebody who knows this place.
Hmm.
Um, the city of Bethlehem like calls the shop phone when a stoplight gets hit and studs need to be rewelded. Like that relationship just already existed, and I've, I think I've done a pretty good job of maintaining it. So now it's not even the shop phone ringing anymore; it's my cell phone that rings when somebody hits a stoplight. Which has pros and cons. Like, cool, that work is mine, awesome. But
Yeah.
at the same time, it might be 2 in the morning.
Have you had any issues with customers coming back and be like, well, like he used to do this for me. Why can't you do it for me? Or anything like have you had any tension with any of the existing customers?
uh, because I got rid of that big crane truck, there was like immediate tension with some customers. Like, oh, you can't do rigging for us? Yeah, get fucked. Pardon my mouth. I don't know if I'm supposed to be swearing on here, but
You're good.
all right, yeah, that's basically the attitude sometimes. Like,
Mm.
oh, you're a new guy, you don't know anything, or oh, you don't have that big piece of equipment anymore. Yeah, you don't. You're not worth working with anymore. Um,
Mm.
but for the most part, as long as the work that the previous owner was doing wasn't purely rigging work, like he used to hang a lot of beams and panels for guys who were home builders, but like I obviously can't do that without that big boom truck.
Yeah.
So like I lost all of those guys, but um, all everybody else that he was working with. The stonemasons doing decorative walls around historic Bethlehem. Hey, we need a 2 foot tall fence along this thing that we're building. Yeah, I get those phone calls. Good.
Nice. Now, do like to back it up a little bit into the doing your due diligence with the with buying the business. I'd
Mhm.
imagine it'd be kind of hard to see, especially if it was a guy working for himself and he's an older guy. He's not keeping track of his hours. Like, were you able to come back and see like what jobs were profitable, what were not profitable, or was it just like a, you know, income and outcome and expenses and that was it?
He did have detailed records down to the man hours. So
Really?
yeah, he was
Wow.
at the, no bullshit. This man had an old school time clock on the wall going into the shop, and like you punch in and punch out every single day, and he had little forms that he'd keep track of jobs and hours on. I'm like, holy shit, this guy is so organized. For like his shop was in absolute chaos when I inherited it.
I know. I've seen pictures.
But yeah, it's wild. There's shit. There's like random motors from the 1930s in like a corner collecting dust. I'm like, dude, why are you holding on to this? Uh, but so, despite some hoarder tendencies when it comes to material and machines, the guy kept immaculate paperwork.
Wow.
So like, if I really wanted to, I could do a deep dive into the jobs and like what was profitable, what wasn't. But uh, I I knew no matter how many hours he was putting in, I was willing to work it. I'd, I'd,
Okay.
I'd, I'd give up everything for this opportunity.
Mm.
So like whatever it takes. If I got to be there 16 hours a day, I'm going to be there 16 hours a day. I've done that for weeks on end to meet deadline. But I mean, it's just sacrifice, and you got to do what you got to do.
Nice. Now, does you said you were looking for this when you were looking for a home? Does does your shop have a residence on it?
It does not. So I'm
Okay.
still renting. I chose the shop over buying a house.
Hey, that's what you gotta do, man.
Yeah. So, the terms of the mortgage on the shop it was a 10-year term. The rate that we agreed upon was like the low interest long term treasury yield. I don't remember what it was, but it took out to like 4.2%, which in the tail end of 23 was insanely well below any bank market
Yeah.
value. So with the 10-year term on that mortgage, I pay it off 9 years from now. And then hopefully in that time, I'm able to scale the business and start saving actual money and maybe pay the business off early. And then maybe I'll be a homeowner. But the way I'm looking at it now, I got 9 years of grinding.
Hey man, just put a little camper out back and live at your shop, man.
Yeah,
You'll be working 22 hours a day.
yeah. I mean, just it doesn't have the shower facilities I need, but you just build that if you need to.
Yeah, exactly. Well, you're on the top of a hill, just dump it out. It's only shower water. It'll go
Exactly.
down the hill. Do you listen to books or podcasts or at all that helped you really uh, fine tune your business practices before you bought this, or what
So
like now? Do you have any recommendations?
my background in manufacturing management kind of influences a lot of my decision making and a lot of the shit I learned along the way.
Mm,
Um, so, I mean, I don't know if you ever work in an environment that operated under ISO or ISO 9000.
no.
You're not familiar, so it's
I
international.
know about it. I know
Yeah,
enough about it that it's a giant pain in the ass, and I don't want to.
exactly. So it's an international standard that dictates, hey, we as a manufacturer are going to do this process in this order every time and make this product reliably. And here's all of our documentation to prove it. So Air Products was an ISO environment, so I was immersed in it for a decade. And then I stepped into manufacturing management in an ISO environment, and I had to learn even more about it. And then once I was that first managing job was high speed production. I use quotes because we're talking thousands of parts per day, not tens of thousands or millions. So high speed production of hydraulic accumulators. And we were an OEM supplier for John Deere, Lenexa, Case New Holland, a ton of these major corporations for their agriculture, forestry, mining industry, supporting all of that. It's the hydraulic accumulator is like a shock absorber for a hydraulic system.
Hmm.
It, so think of the on a John Deere seeder, the spike that plants a seed is driven hydraulically. Well, what happens when that thing cycles and it finds a rock? I mean, if you don't have somewhere for that hydraulic pressure to go, you're going to snap your tool off. So the hydraulic accumulator sits there, and it's a little fluid reservoir that pushes against a diaphragm that has pressurized nitrogen. So it'll compress the nitrogen on the other side and allow the fluid to flow out of the way. So, like in learning how to operate in this high-speed manufacturing environment, I learned about lean manufacturing practices. And Lean Six Sigma is like a Japanese methodology that Toyota came up with. And I don't know if you know anything about Toyota's manufacturing
I've
practices, but
read the
like,
Toyota way. Yeah.
yeah, they're
Hmm.
insane. Like so I
It
had a
worked
chance.
until 2020.
Yeah, so, no joke. So I had a chance to sit in on a course run by a woman named Tracy Richardson, who was one of the engineers at the Kansas plant, and she had been there forever. So she talked about when they changed from the body style from 1987 to 1988 on the Camry. Um, it was like a 2 week shutdown. They had to retool this whole assembly line, rebuild everything, and then fire the line back up and hope it works right. Uh, she then asked us to take a wild guess how long it took for them to switch from the 2012 to 2013 body style, or whatever year it was in the early 2010s. And all of us took a guess. Like, I don't know, you probably shaved at least a week off of it. Less than an hour. They, they leave a couple of gaps in their production line, 6 car lengths. And as that gap in the production line travels down, they retool the environment where the gap is.
Wow.
It's
That is
insane.
crazy.
These guys are wizards. They've thought about everything. So I don't know if you can even see it. I actually have like stacks of books over here from all of my lean manufacturing days and doing all that coursework. So like there's, I grew up on the show How It's Made. Like I like manufacturing. I like having an order of operations that's going to guarantee a successful outcome every time. So like
My son loves that. So my son Coden, he's 4 years old, and he's enthralled with how it's made.
So
Like,
I jokingly refer to that show as SOP lullabies. Yeah, dude, it's like that's the only way I know how to describe that show. Like it's SOP
yes,
lullabies. They're just going to give you this nice, beautiful footage of a factory doing exactly what it's supposed to do, and some
yes.
gentle voice is going to explain to you exactly what they're doing and why they're doing it.
So true, man. So true. Um, so with inheriting a giant, well, it's not even that giant. With inheriting a shop full of tools, what is your favorite tool in your shop?
Oh man, my favorite. I mean, how do you define that? Like the one I use the most, the one I just love the most. What's
The one you
cool?
couldn't live without.
The one I couldn't live without would definitely be the Hyde Mech bandsaw. Oh
Oh
my
yeah.
god. Yeah, oh my god, that saw is gnarly. It's got 2 hydraulic vices on it. One of the vices is an indexing vice, so like you can stack whatever material you want on that thing. It doesn't give a shit. It'll do up to like 14-inch pipe, um,
Wow.
and like so you can stack a 20-foot length on the infeed tray of that thing, clamp it in the back vise, and just drag it right through, and like you're gonna cut to the 32nd every time. It's beautiful.
Nice.
So that high on the list. As far as just cool shit in the shop, I have a Buffalo Ironworker from like 1907.
Ooh.
Um, it's a behemoth. It's covered
Big
in
old
grease.
flywheel ones, right?
Yeah, it's flywheel driven,
Oh yeah.
not hydraulic.
I've got experience with a Buffalo Ironworker. I think it was like it wasn't even a number one. It was like a one half or something like
Yeah,
that. And that thing was scary.
yeah. There's sketchy shit, man. I may have accidentally fed the punch some AR plate that I didn't realize was AR plate until after I
Oh.
tried punching the AR plate. But yeah, I put a 15/16 punch through 3/8 AR plate, uh, and it sounded like a goddamn bomb went off, and about an inch of dust came. I mean, there's like expanded metal covering the flywheel, and like you could like there was an instant where it just happened where you could see the pattern of the expanded metal in the dust that came off the expanded metal before it all dropped to the ground. Yeah.
So you bought a new punch.
Well, actually, I didn't even need to buy a new punch. I managed to snap the coupling nut, and I was like, man, where the hell am I going to find one of these? And lo and
Yeah,
behold,
right.
Cleveland Punch and Die makes a full set of replacement parts for this machine.
No
I can
way.
service this thing and into eternity as long as Cleveland Punch and Die is still making tools anyway.
Better buy some extras on that one.
Right?
That's cool, man. I
Yeah.
definitely dig those old machines.
Oh my God, they're awesome. So that machine allegedly came out of Bethlehem Steel. They had phased it out sometime in the 60s or 70s when they got newer equipment, and somehow it ended up in the shop because the previous owner was actually the son of the guy who started the shop, and he served in World War II, came back, worked for Bethlehem Steel for a while in some sort of engineering role. And I was like, you know what, screw this, I'm just going to go buy some property and start a shop. And he started making handrails for everywhere around town. So like that, shortly after he left Bethlehem Steel, he still had all sorts of connections down there. So like that Buffalo Ironworker came out of there, and I have like a 1960s, 1970s index mill.
Mm.
It's a behemoth of a Bridgeport setup, and just built like a brick shit house. That came out of there too.
Nice.
Yeah.
So with all the tools that you've got, what do you think is one tool that you should sell?
Oh man. Well, the boom truck had to go just because I didn't have the license to operate it. Didn't want to pay to insure the damn thing.
Yeah.
Um, I have a couple spare welding machines I should probably offload just because they take up a lot of footprint. Um, there's like a big ass constant current machine that's good for like 400 amp, and it's just a straight stick machine. Like you could TIG with it, but it doesn't have high freak or anything. But Gary mostly used it for arc gouging. And like I don't plan on really ever arc gouging. I have a plasma. Like why wouldn't I just plasma gouge?
Plasma gouge, man.
Yeah, it's crater faster. It's not nearly as loud. It doesn't leave a bunch of carbon injected into whatever you're working with. Um, don't get me wrong, carbon gouging definitely has its time. Like
Yeah, yeah.
if you're working a filthy, nasty bucket and you need to get some shit apart and blast it back together, you're probably gonna want a carbon arc gouge. But for
Yep.
the most part, give me the flash.
Well, I love those debates on like the Facebook groups and stuff like that. Like, what do you guys suggest running for like arc gouging or and I'm like, no, plasma gouge. That's the way to go.
Yeah, the
Like
plasma gouge.
it is. If you're doing big old bucket stuff, all right, it's got its limitations. You should probably just use carbon arc, but for anything half inch, 3/8 or smaller, it's
Dude,
just
up to an inch. I'll take the plasma all
yeah,
day.
yeah. I mean, like we do replacement wear pads for an auto auction place, and every 6 weeks we go there and we cut off their 5/8 plate and put new ones on. And I pull out the Hypertherm XP45, and with the
Mm-hmm.
50-foot whip, I leave it on the back of the truck. I turn the compressor on the truck, and dude, I've got an hour and a half of arc time on arc time straight on that XP45, and it did not shut off.
Yep.
Like I've gone through 2 consumable sets. Okay, so it shut off for me to change my consumable sets.
Yeah,
Okay.
I mean, if it's dead shorted, it's going to die on you. But
Yes. Like
you
like
melt
like
the whole
really,
thing.
it was just that shot that like it was faster just to change it because you could see the arc profile. But an hour and a half of straight on time, you can't beat that. You can't beat that. Like, don't worry about duty cycles. Don't worry. I don't work for Hypertherm. I'm the end user. Don't worry about duty cycles. That
Yeah,
XP45 will take it all day.
pull the trigger and rip, man. Just let it run.
Oh,
It eats.
so good, man. So
Yeah.
good. And for such, and it packs up into a rectangle milk crate. You
Yeah,
know,
they're tiny. The
yeah,
footprint is nothing. Dude,
yeah.
that 400 amp stick machine is like 4.5 foot long, 3.5 foot tall, and probably 3 foot wide. It's a dinosaur. It's fucking like dragging a whole trailer around.
Yeah, right? It's
Yeah,
like 1,800 pounds. Like, you're never going
yeah,
to move the thing.
yeah. If I tried to sell the damn thing, I'd probably get a couple $100 at best. And probably better off, honestly, just
Just
tearing the
scrap
thing
it.
open and wait for the copper prices to go up.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Now that we say that, I'm going to see it on Marketplace next week, huh? Welder near me. I know that guy.
Hey, I wonder if that's a mill. Is that 400 amp miller he was talking? Yeah, it's that 400 amp miller.
For those who don't know, we're about 25 minutes from each other. So
Yeah, the vast distance between Bethlehem and Quakertown.
is nothing. Yeah.
Yeah, just a quick ride down 378.
Yeah. So what do you think, back to that, the Facebook welding groups, we kind of run in the same kind of circles with that. What do you think most welding business owners are doing wrong these days?
What are they doing wrong? Underselling themselves.
Yeah.
Number one, like a million% underselling themselves.
Yeah.
Everybody's always asking, like, "Oh, what the hell would you charge for this handrail? What would you charge to quote this for me?" Like, quoting is an art. It's as much of a science as it is an art. Sure, you can come up with some sort of linear foot pricing, but no two rails are the same. No two install environments are the same.
Hmm.
Get your ass out there and go look at the damn thing. Uh, After you look at it, assess it, figure out what it's going to take and how much it's going to cost you to achieve this successfully for your customer, and then figure out how much money are you going to make on this. What's your time worth? What's your overhead look like? If
Mm-hmm.
you can't sit down and do an honest evaluation of that, like, what are you doing? What are you doing? Go do an apprenticeship. Go spend some time learning, practice. Like, it's not like it's not a field for amateurs, because there's so much bad shit out there in the world. Like, there's slop work. Like, I don't. Like, I mean, we don't post too many pictures in the groups of what we run into out in the wild, but like, I see guys who charge literally identically to me, and they're using like four small fasteners through a bolt hole because they didn't bring the right hardware with them. It's like, bro, what, how are you charging what I'm charging? So yeah, definitely don't undersell yourself. Like, know that you're doing quality work, and then charge for
Yeah.
quality work.
Yeah. Absolutely. I see that. I see the whole like, what would you charge for this? And it's, I get feeling the market out, but I feel like some people are just being lazy about it, and they're just looking for a price. And
Yeah,
sometimes, like, whenever I post anything on there, I always just speak text it, because my answers are 2 or 3 paragraphs long, and I don't have time to write that out.
yep,
But it's, it's, what is it gonna, what it you say, like, it's not what anybody else will charge. How much do you need to charge? If you're asking the question, you don't know your numbers. you know
yes,
you
yeah,
don't know your numbers, you don't know your business. If you're asking how much you should charge, you don't know your numbers. Plain and simple.
yep,
You need to stop being lazy, or maybe it's not even lazy. Maybe it's just they don't know. They
yeah.
haven't. But go on YouTube. Go on
Spend
YouTube.
the time
Figure out how to
learning.
set your pricing. Figure out what your true overhead costs are. Divide that
Yeah,
out by whatever, and then figure it out from there. But the people who say, "Oh, just triple material price," I'm just like, "Oh my gosh,
well,
please just
yeah,
go away."
yeah. So I should just triple material price on, the Inconel pipe spool that I need to hold 5 thou tolerance to across like 13 joints. Like, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, let me just triple the material on that. It's not going to pull and twist and be a giant pain in the dick the entire time I try and make this thing. I don't need to
Ugh.
factor in the 15 years of fabrication knowledge to know how to successfully weld an exotic
Yep.
and get everything to land where it needs to be. Like, what are you people thinking? You can't just, oh yeah, the material's worth this much. This is what my time's worth. Yeah, send it. Come on, man. Treat yourself better.
Yeah. Yeah. So what? Well, on that thread, what do you think is the worst piece of advice? What do you think is the worst piece of business advice that you've gotten?
Worst piece of business advice. I don't know. Like, I feel like most of the people that I've interacted with have been like tremendously helpful. I can't really think of like genuine bad advice that I got.
How about the opposite? What do you think is the best business advice you've got?
Um, Figure out the relationships that you want to maintain. That was
Okay.
short, concise. Um, that one actually came from my brother.
Mm,
My brother is not an entrepreneur, but a tremendous success in his own right. Um, a phenomenal human being as well. So he told me that while we were shooting the shit, and I was just like, I don't know who I trust. I don't know who I want to keep doing business with. Like, man, this guy was a pain in the ass to work with. He's like, dude, who gives a shit? You'll get more clients. There is work out there. You're like, you're right. Like, knowing that I have the security of these contacts was a huge part of what gave me the confidence to go after this in the first place. But he was right, and you do need to pick and choose, and not every customer is your customer. Sometimes you got to kick that customer down to the next guy, and
hmm
maybe they'll hit it off better than you did. Um,
Yep. Absolutely.
yeah.
What So you've been running your business now full time for about 9 months now. What would you do if you were to do it all again? What would you change?
Oh, what would I change? Um, when I had the capital in the early days, I should have been more guarded with it. Um, I should have reached out to the community for advice on scaling earlier.
Okay.
Um, I should I should have hired one more person in the early days and rolled the dice and tried grinding harder because I think I could be about double where I'm at now if I would have taken that risk. Um,
Interesting.
I
Okay.
wasn't sure that the work was going to be there consistently for me. I wasn't, and that uncertainty led me to hesitation, and I didn't pull the trigger when I should have. And
Hmm.
I'm not like hurting because of it, but I'm not as far as I could have been. And I think about that pretty regularly.
Yeah. The opportunity that you missed with that.
Yep.
What do you, okay. What prevents you from doing that now?
Um, Capital on hand. There's so much money in some of these big projects that I have cooking,
Hmm.
and I try not to lean too much on credit. And I also don't have that much credit because I've only been in business for a year. So I mean, until you have a couple of years worth of tax data to show to a creditor, they're not going to say, "Oh yeah, you actually make money. We'll lend you money."
Yeah.
So doing some of the large scale projects, if you can only negotiate like a 20% down payment ahead of time, you have your whole ass hanging out there sometimes. And if this doesn't go right, you're going to lose it all. And unfortunately, that's the kind of risk that you have to take sometimes to stand a chance at making decent money on some of this big shit.
Yeah. It has to go well.
Yeah. Failure is not an option. You have to be willing to put in the hours to ensure that. It just is what it
Yeah.
is. Show up, like, go spend time on the gun, and get your reps in. Like it,
Hmm. Have you had any jobs go sideways in your first 9 months, and what did that look like?
not full blown sideways, but definitely just begin to expect the unexpected. Um, the first time I did an interior railing, was a short little guy for a set of stairs. It only went halfway up the staircase. And they wanted just one leg down at the bottom, 5 pieces of square tube going up on an angle, and then a flat plate against the wall where all of them were welded down to it. I didn't check the angle of the wall, and it wasn't plumb.
Ooh.
Whoops! So, I
Yeah.
had this powder coated, and it was all done. I had to cut it the hell back apart and adjust the angle on this thing, which is its own wrestling match without scrapping the whole damn thing, and rework it and sandblast it and repowder coat it, and then go install it for real. That lesson learned real quick. That was like one of the first things I did after owning the place. Like, if you have to connect to a wall inside a house, make sure the damn thing's plumb. Um,
Yes.
uh,
Yes.
when I was installing that high dive at Lehigh, we had to break open a tile wall. By we, I mean the royal we, not me personally, but the guys on the job broke open a tile wall, and we had to. It was like a cantilever design, so like the main members bolt into the wall, and then there's a column like 5 feet out from the wall, and then the rest of it just kind of hangs out over the pool. It's a diving board. Uh, so when we busted open the wall and we looked at where we needed to land the base plates that we had made up on these massive 14 by 6 by 3/8 members, just huge rectangular tube, uh, there was just a void where we were supposed to land a bolt. There just wasn't anything there. So like, there's supposed to be a column here. Oh, it turns out the column is like this ancient brick pillar from like 1920 when they first built the gymnasium. I'm like, we're supposed to bolt into that and trust it that it's not going to crumble. And they're like, yeah, it's fine. I was like,
Speaking
you
of that
sure?
engineer, come on over
Yeah,
here.
yeah. So we came up with the wonderful solution of just kind of dropping a board in on the left side of the void, and dumping about 90 pounds of hydraulic cement in and pinned the hydraulic cement to the pillar just so we had somewhere to land this last bolt.
Hmm.
And that appeased everyone working on the project, and that's what we did.
And it hasn't fallen over yet.
No, it's still standing strong.
Nice, man. Very cool.
Yeah.
What are your goals over the next couple of years for Fasciano Ironworks?
I want to scale. I want to bring more employees in. I mean, I like teaching. I like sharing. I like educating. So I
Hmm.
want to get some green guys and kind of bring them up what I think is the right way. Um, Not just welding skills, but also fabricating skills, like drilling a hole through an inch of steel, or
Hey, it's it's harder than it looks, right?
hey, yeah, there's method to the madness, man. If you want to be efficient about it anyway, and not smoke your bits. But
Shout
yeah,
out to
like,
Walter for all those bits that got smoked.
but yeah, I mean, you get a guy in who's 18, 19 years old, who's never really run this kind of environment. Like, teach him how to use a saw safely. Teach him how to uh, measure both in the field and in the shop. So, like, all right, we need to land something here. It needs to be this exactly to the 30-second. Most fabricators don't necessarily work that tight of a tolerance all the time, but I try and always work by the 30-second. Um, and drag that information back to the shop, select the material you need, get it onto the saw, cut the part to length. And then once you have your parts cut, like, how do you actually, like, you ask somebody to tack together a square out of four equal pieces, and like 99% of the time you get a rhombus or a trapezoid. I don't know how everybody
Yeah.
manages to do it, but like, shit pulls when it welds and when you tack it together. And it's not always an easy feat to just build a square. So
Hmm.
like, just starting with the fundamentals, man. Um, Sharing that knowledge, sharing the passion for making and creating. Yeah, that's ultimately the dream. I want to bring a couple guys up along with me. I mean, I don't just want the business to succeed or just me to succeed. I want all of us to succeed. Like,
Yeah.
if any one of my guys ain't eating, I ain't eating either.
Yeah. Absolutely. A rising tide floats all boats.
Exactly.
Yeah. Awesome, man. Well, I appreciate you coming on, man. Do you have anything for me?
Yes.
Okay, let's have
So
at it.
what was the inspiration for the Fabricator Olympics? What the hell birthed that?
Um, what birthed that is it was actually a birthday party. Um, so every year, so we have 23 acres out in Quakertown,
Mm-hmm.
and for the last bunch of years, we've always had a like a riding and shooting party. So everybody comes and we shoot guns and whatever for an hour or two, and then we go
Field beat a
ride for
car,
an hour
ride the
or
four
two.
wheelers.
What's that?
Field beat the cars, ride a four wheeler. Yeah.
Yes, exactly,
Oh,
exactly. And then I wanted to do something that involved a little bit more of like welding and the skill of that. And I'm like, well, maybe instead of doing a riding and shooting party, we can have some of like my fabricator friends come over and we can have a little competition. And that's right when I got the spider crane. And I was like, it'd be awesome to like put a harness on and hang upside down from the spider crane and like have to weld upside down, do like an overhead and see who's got the best of that. And, it kind of just rolled from there. And then, my wife, Melissa, she's always, she's got some, she like, she has a lot of, she's got a very good fun bone in her and so she's like, well, we could do this and we could do that and like maybe we could actually have a competition out of this and she is all about the organization of it and we could just have a whole event and I love the idea of it. So she kind of took my crazy idea and like refined it a little bit more to be more palatable for people outside of our immediate circle group.
yeah.
And then her experience in with that just kind of it grew into something that of like, hey, well maybe this could actually be a competition because like I wanted it to be more about the fabrication side of it than the welding side because like that's what I'm passionate about. Like anybody can come out at WTTI and lay down a beautiful bead and show me all the certificates, but when I give them some inch and a half square tube and tell them to make a square box, like yo, we have a scrap bin full of some pretty nasty square boxes.
Yeah,
Um,
rhombuses and diamonds and
yeah. Oh, just the
everything square.
fit of it is just oh anyway. But yeah, so it kind of grew from there, and then you know, once we have a good idea, I tend to just kind of run with it and just make it like I just kind of go. I tend to go overboard, and we already had a relationship with Lincoln for a few years, and I ran it by my guy there. I was like, hey, I think we're gonna do this. Like, would you be interested in like because like if Lincoln didn't hop on, I was gonna go on Amazon buy the cheapest welders I could find, and like we're doing this competition whether whether we have a sponsor or not, and but Lincoln's like, hey, that sounds fun. Here's like, what do you need? So I gave him a lesson and said, no problem, here you go.
That's
And
so sick.
it kind of just went from there. And so yeah, it started with like I wanted to do something other than riding and shooting for my birthday at the shop, and it kind of just it's grown into what it is, and now we're it's it's just growing bigger and like from the first you saw the first year and you saw the second year. It was a big difference between the first year and second year.
Yeah,
So
man, no joke, no joke. I'm excited to see what you guys are cooking up for year three.
yeah, yeah, it's going to
Uh,
be awesome. So eventually we would like to take this on the road and do this all around the country, but I think we're still a little bit away from that. um, but yeah, so that's how the inspiration for the Fabricator Olympics came about.
that is as good a birth story as any for an event like this, man. That is awesome. All right, what other questions do I have for you? So, your company, your mobile welding company. Um, how long was it after you decided to really do this full time? You make your logo and all right, I'm in business for myself. How long was it until you hired your first employee?
um, it was probably in that first. It was right around the 1 year mark, I'd say.
Yeah,
And he was part time. So a guy named Claudio. He actually worked at Stanley Vinmar. Um,
nice. One of those guys. I almost took
yeah,
a
yeah.
road trip over
So
there.
he was working like a weird shift. He would get off at like he worked early and he would get off pretty early, or maybe it was the other way around. I forget. Maybe he went in at like 6 or something o'clock on 7, and then he can't. Anyway, um, he would come in for a couple hours a day, and I just needed. It got to the point where I just needed somebody to paint. I just needed somebody to paint and drill holes, and he could weld, like he was a good welder. But I just needed some help drilling and painting. So from him coming in part time, I said, hey, would you be interested in coming on full time? And he said, yeah. So he quit his job and worked with me full time. And then from there was another guy at Stanley Vinmar who was working. I think he worked night shift, but he didn't go into like 7 o'clock. So he would come to my shop first. He would work and then he would go to his actual job at Stanley Vinmar. He actually didn't end up being full time, but I had a few guys. Kyle was he was shoot, he was probably 15 when he first started working for me because he lived like 3 houses down from where my shop is. And he come home from school and instead of going to bale hay, he would come and paint for me. And he would drill holes and he would move stuff around. And he was a farm kid, so like he was strong, he was a go-getter, and it just kind of grew from there. I hired on a few. Eventually, Kyle did come on full time. Well, when he went to school for welding in tech school, and he would come in co-op, and then from co-op he took a full time job with us, and so yeah, it was right about a year. Like it might have been a little bit less than a year, it might have been a little bit over a year. I don't quite exactly remember, but it was right about that 1 year mark where I just needed
Okay.
somebody else.
Nice. Your answer there in your storytelling, you just gave me ammo for another question. What was it like working with the co-op program? How did that whole thing work?
Um, it was it was fine. It
So,
was
so
good.
what do you do? Do you like talk to the school and say, "Hey, I have positions open for some young buck who's interested"? Like, how does
Yeah,
it work?
absolutely. Actually, if you're interested, I can send you the info for the OAC meeting is coming up. The Occupational Advisory Committee is coming up in about a month. Maybe it's even the end of this month. I don't remember. Anyway, I'll talk to you offline about that. But yeah, you go to the tech school and say, hey, I have a position for this. They send the teacher out just to inspect, make sure that like
It's
it's
a
a
safe environment. You're not going to
safe-ish
hurt a kid.
environment.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then there is a lady who deals specially with co-op kids, and she'll come out. She'll talk to you. She comes out probably once a semester just to come out and like check on them, make sure that they're there, and then that everything's still up to working environment standards. You have to fill out a performance review for the kids. I've only had, I take that back. I think there were two kids on co-op that we've dealt with. It says, unsatisfactory, satisfactory, or very satisfied. And you just kind of go through I think it's every semester, every quarter, whatever it is, and you evaluate them on how they're doing, and they kind of get their grade from there. And you give the teachers feedback, and you have to work around their schedule. I don't think that they could come every day of the week. I think it was like I could have him like 4 days a week, and the one day he had to like be in actual class to like keep learning, like do his OSHA 10 or something like that and work towards that. So it wasn't like 5 days a week. Because when I was in co-op, when I was in tech school, when I went out on co-op, I mean, shoot, they didn't care. They were just like, all right, yeah, cool, go for it. Like
Yeah. See
I
you.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah,
here
like
for me at the end of the
they pushed me out so fast. They didn't even do the paperwork on whether I was getting paid on the books or not, because I was still getting paid under the books.
Holy
Um,
smokes.
yeah, when I was supposed to be in, and like that's a whole big no no, but like whatever. This was 2000, two when this happened. So, but no, it was a pretty straightforward process. You've got the child labor laws that they can't work more than like 20 hours a week or something like that, and of course on the record we never exceeded that. But if you were to go off the record, and there's ways around that, but on the record, Kyle never worked more than the legal child labor law limits. But yeah, so
Kyle sounds ambitious.
yeah, yeah. So it was a really good experience. It really was. And I got to teach him, I got to kind of mold him into the person that I needed there. And overall it was a really good experience.
Nice. Yeah,
Yeah.
I've thought about going down that path because I mean I taught welding at Northampton Community College over at Hartselle Hall. I ran their pipe processes two course for a semester. Like I really like teaching. I didn't necessarily like the hours, but I did really like teaching. So I think the co-op program could be a good opportunity for both a kid and for me, just to kind of share that love for making with the next generation.
Yeah. If you've got the patience, so I don't have that love. Um, no, I do, like I do to a point, but I think when it comes down to I really enjoy, so maybe I overstated that. I do enjoy teaching people new things. I don't have the long-term patience to hold their hand through the whole entire job. Um, Especially on the high school level, you know, sometimes you're reteaching them the same thing you taught them yesterday. And when I am paying them, and we have a deadline, and we're a small shop, and nobody else can absorb that time. And I can't pull one or two guys off of this and say, "Hey, come over here and help get this done," while I explain to him again how this goes and have the patience. Um, my patience ran a little bit short, and I wasn't as good of a teacher as I could have been because I was more focused on the business side of things.
Yeah,
Eh,
and you're definitely exposing yourself a little bit because like there's the opportunity for mistakes to happen when you've got a young kid like that in the shop.
mhm.
And sometimes you trash something expensive, like you can't take it back. You can metal's pretty forgiving to work with, and you can get away with a lot. But certain things you can't unfuck
Cut
once it's
short is
fucked.
cut short, no matter what.
Yeah, exactly.
And
Um,
like, if you build it into your schedule to know that, hey, I need to take extra time and I'm going to have to explain this out to him better, and you've got the patience to do that, I'd say it's a really great opportunity to do it. But just know that, like, you know, because there's also the opportunity cost that you're missing because you're paying a guy, and he's also taking up your time too.
yep.
So you're almost missing out on double the man hours of potential work that you could put out by taking that
Yeah.
extra 20 to 25 minutes and explaining it out to him better. So right there, you've lost an hour of billable time, when essentially you're still paying yourself and you're paying him, and you're an hour behind because it was two of you. So when you're too small of a shop, you could that could really add up. And I saw that early on, and so I kind of lost my patience with not lost my patience, but I favored more towards like, all right, breaking down into micro task and just saying like, hey, this is what you have to do, just do it, rather than like showing them the big picture of like, okay, well, here's how it fits in, and this is why you need to do it this way, and you see how it's more, try doing it this way and try doing it that way, and then oh, this is faster. Now you see that it's faster. Like, I could have absolutely taken the time to teach that learning, and or to teach that lesson, and I didn't do it. So I don't want to say I was a bad boss or bad teacher for them, but I you really have to know what you're going into, or else
Yeah,
you're going to get
and
burnt out and frustrated with trying to
yeah,
teach a
and
high school kid.
it's those are all really good points because, like I said, I've only got one guy working for me right now, and
Hmm.
I was like, oh, maybe this is a good idea. I can start teaching somebody. But now I'm thinking, oh, maybe I don't want to get bogged down in this, and I need to wait until I scale a little bit more before I think about trying this.
And I think that's it's taken me. So I started in 2015. So I've been in business 10 years, and it's been up until probably the last year where I decided that I don't want anybody on my team who isn't like an 8 or better, because um, it just takes too much opportunity cost away from trying to teach and trying to bring them up to speed and things like that. I just I don't have the bandwidth capacity to do that anymore. When we've got 10 guys, or even like six guys, 6, 8, 10 guys, you can absorb somebody, one of those 6 or 8 guys, to go teach the green guy how to bring him up to speed. But when you've got 3 producers and your budget for your is built around 38 hours, 36 hours of producing time every week, that 4 people have to hit, taking that little bit of time um once a day, or just it really adds up. So I don't think I'm interested in that until we have a few more guys on the team to be able to absorb that and go from there. Awesome. Well, Dan, I appreciate your time, man. Feel free to reach out to me anytime you want, and let's keep chatting, man.
Absolutely, this has been a blast. Yeah, hit me up next year when you're playing the Fab Olympics. I'd love to get involved. Whatever you need, man.
We are actually, so right now it's March right now. We are putting together our team to get everything going for this year. So it's happening. It's we're still trying to nail down a place before we announce a date. But yep. Fabricator Olympics 2025 is coming at you.
Perfect, man. Love it. Love it.
Awesome. Sounds good, Dan.
All
I'll
right.
talk to you soon, bud.
Take care, Kevin. It's
All right.
been great.
Yeah, man. See ya.